Good morning once again. Today we continue our discussion on risk and return. Now, last time we learned how to download stock prices, learn about the details about the company. So, for example, we looked at Apple company, and Apple has ticker symbol of AAPL. So let's access this. Okay, so here we can see that the closing price of Apple for yesterday's trading was 159.69. There was a drop of 9 centavos. May paki-mute, no? Okay, so we learned some information about the company. Let's pay particular attention to the beta. Beta, as we said, is a measurement of risk. No? Sabi natin, there are different ways to measure the riskiness of an asset. One of them is beta. And beta is a measurement of relative risk because we benchmark it against the market. Sabi natin yung market na ginagamit usually is Standard & Poor's, whose ticker symbol is GSPC. GSPC, ito yung ticker symbol ni Standard & Poor's, which is a basket of 500 stocks, no, in the US market. So it's pretty much a proxy for the market. If we access this Standard & Poor's, yan, historical prices, historical data. Okay, so we can work on the time period that we want, whether we want dividends or capital gains or stock splits, information about those. Frequency could be daily, weekly, monthly, and apply it. Notice that there is no download here. Okay, I'm wondering why Yahoo Finance removed that option. But you can still download the prices by copying this. Copy nyo lang tapos i-paste nyo sa Excel. Okay. I noticed that there are also several other, like Dow Jones. No? Dow Jones is another index. Dow Jones, being ticker symbol ni Dow Jones here. DJI, may caret din. No? Dow Jones Industrial Average. Parang ito yung ano natin, yung PSA natin, yung Philippine Stock Exchange Index. This also consists of 30 companies. Magkaiba lang yung pag-compute ng Dow Jones average at saka ng Philippine Stock Exchange Index natin. Okay, so again, if I go to historical data, ganun din, no? Nawala yung download provision ng Dow Jones. Okay, so let's go back to our Apple stock. And we said that the beta is a measurement of riskiness. 1.2 there means that it's more risky than the market, no? By 1.2 times. So we said that if the market increases by 10%, the Apple stock will increase by 12%. If the market goes down by 10%, the Apple stock will go down by 12%. So 1.2 times yung yung magnification relative to the market performance. Okay, so if an asset has a beta greater than 1, then we say that it's more risky than the market, more volatile than the market. If an asset has a beta of less than 1, then it's less risky than the market. Kunyari, 0.5 lang. So kalahati lang yung galaw niya for every movement in the market. Pag yung market tumaas ng 5%, an asset that has a beta of 5%, of 0.5, sorry, 0.5 will only increase by 2.5%. Okay, let me repeat that. If an asset if the market increases by 5%, the asset that has a beta of 0.5 will only increase by 2.5%. Kasi ang beta niya 0.5, ibig sabihin kalahati lang yung galaw niya relative to the market. So assets that have betas lower than 1 are less risky. Okay, can a beta be negative? Yes. kunyari, if an asset has a beta of negative 1.2, ibig sabihin nun, when the market increases by 10%, that stock will go down by 12%. Okay? So, equally risky din yung asset na may beta na 1.2 dun sa asset na negative 1.2 yung beta. Only, they move in different directions. So, for example, si Microsoft, no? Tignan natin si Microsoft, MSFT. Let's take a look at the beta of Microsoft. Okay, so take note guys that Yahoo computes yung beta based on 5 years monthly data. Okay, so ganun yung pag-compute niya. There are, syempre, you'll get a different beta if the time period is different. No? Kung daily yan o weekly yan ang ginagamit, magiging iba yung data. Yung beta. So si ano to, Microsoft? Sorry, DKNG pala to, no? MSFT. MSFT. Okay. Si Microsoft, guys, ang beta niya is 0.86. No? So it's less risky than the market. It's less volatile than the market. So si Apple is riskier than Microsoft in terms of beta. Okay? If we go to Tesla, TSLA, si Tesla naman, so let's see, 1.98. So halos doble, no? Doble yung galaw nito. If the market increases by 10%, Tesla stock will increase by almost 20% kasi almost twice yan. Okay, so there are stocks are characterized by their riskiness through beta. That's one way. Now last week, what we did was, so balikan muna tayo sa Excel natin. Okay, kindly open the Excel file. So this is what we did last time. Okay, so we learned how to plot using the candlestick, yung open, high, low, close prices ng isang stock. No? Okay, and then what we did last meeting was to learn how to compute for the returns and the risk using either simple returns. Ang simple returns, another name for this is discrete returns. Okay, and then we also learned how to compute for the log returns, or another name for this is continuous returns. Okay, I hope you did some research on why in finance mas ginagamit yung log returns, no? There are several reasons for that, and I hope you read on that. Medyo lalabas sa exam yun, no? So I hope you do your just brief readings on that para medyo may idea lang kayo kung bakit mas ginagamit yung log returns kaysa sa discrete returns. Okay? So in terms of risk naman, pwedeng gumamit ng yung variance, okay? At saka yung standard deviation. Okay? So yung variance or standard deviation is just measures yung volatility or dispersion ng returns ng asset natin relative to the mean, okay? Relative to the average returns. Yung beta naman, it's relative to a benchmark, which is the benchmark used, which is the market. And it's usually the Standard and Poor's 500. So yun ang kaibahan nila, no? Yung risk measured by standard deviation uses the returns of the asset itself. Okay? While on the other hand, yung beta is a measurement of risk which uses both the returns of the asset and the returns of the benchmark, which is Standard and Poor's 500. Sabi nga natin si Standard and Poor's 500, it's like a basket of 500 stocks. No? So ang ginagawa niyan, kinuha yung mga 500 stocks na yan, kinuha yung mga returns nila, tapos kinuha yung average. Okay, so that's the market average. Okay, and on the third worksheet, we can see here, dinownload ko na guys yung Apple stock, Microsoft, Amazon, including our market, which is GSPC, Standard and Poor's. Okay, so for today, we're going to, again, use this data in order to compute natin yung returns. Let's use log returns, and then yung risk using variance and standard deviation, and then yung beta, no? All right, so let me copy this. Copy natin guys yung pangalan, Control C, okay. Control V. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get the returns, the variance, the standard deviation. Okay, we get the returns, of course, based on the stock prices. And when you get the variance and the standard deviation, ang ginagamit natin yung returns, guys, no? Not the stock prices. Okay, to facilitate our computation, i-hide lang natin yung, let's say, from row 6 hanggang up to, okay, let's just hide, let's just put out yung last 5 and the first 5. So let's hide this. Right click, hide. Okay? We're doing this, guys, para mas ma-facilitate yung pag-formula natin. Kasi kung mahaba masyado, pag dinag natin yung formula, mahaba, no? Okay, so here I'll put, lalagay ko lang dito yung average log returns. Tapos dito, lagay natin yung risk as measured by variance. Then risk as measured by standard deviation. And then let's compute for the coefficient of variation. And then our beta. Okay, so let's do that. First, we compute for the returns, no? And we're going to use the log return. So it's just the ln, natural logarithm. Ang ginagamit natin, ln, sorry, I'll skip one line. Okay, so this is equal to ln of the price now, relative now, divided by the price of the previous week. Kasi weekly yung data natin. Okay? So that's our formula for returns. No? Ito yung continuous returns natin. We use the natural log. Had we used the discrete returns, magiging ano yan? Magiging B3 over B2 minus 1. May minus 1 pa siya. Okay? Enter natin, and then we can copy the formula to the right, and then down. Okay, so we have now our matrix of returns. Okay, I'll pause for a few seconds, and then please chat, guys, kung okay na yung returns natin. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Yes.
Sir, pwede po show po ng formula ulit sa screen niyo po. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Paki-chat nga, guys, kung meron na kayong returns. Feedback, please, guys. Yes, kung meron na. Hello, any questions, guys? Are you done? Kindly write na lang sa chat box, guys, kung okay na so that I know if I'll proceed already. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, Migs. Waiting for the others, guys. Let's give a few more seconds for the others. Okay, thank you, Kenji, Kyla, LG, May, Alessandro, Gwyneth, Migs, Anton na mention ko na kanina. How about the rest, guys? 8 pa lang to. Okay, let's give a few more seconds to your classmates. I hope you're following. Harold, Mikhail, thank you. Okay, just 10 more seconds and then we proceed. Charles, salamat. I hope everyone is following. The rest, guys, 50% pa lang yung chat. Okay, any questions, guys? Okay, no questions. Okay, so let's proceed. So hindi na natin, i-hide na lang natin to kasi hindi na natin to gagamitin prices. Okay, we cannot delete this yet kasi ito, guys, nakapeg dito sa prices. Kung gusto nyo i-delete na to, para ito na lang lalabas sa yung mga returns na lang, save natin to as save as value. Okay, para hindi na siya nakalink sa stock prices natin. But let's just anyway, let's just maintain this. So i-hide na lang natin to. Let's hide these columns of prices. Yan. Okay. So let's now get the average is equal to average of our returns for Apple. Okay, so gawin na lang natin tong percent. Center lang natin at saka i-bold natin. Okay, so this is the average returns for Apple for the past 4 years. 4 years kasi ito, from January 2018 up to December 2021. Weekly returns, Tom, weekly returns. So let's copy this to the right. Okay, so based on our computation, the average weekly returns for the past 4 years, which stock performed best? Which among the stock, except for GSPC, okay, since yung GSPC hindi naman talaga stock na nag-invest tayo dyan, this is an index. Which is the best performer, guys, in terms of average returns? Anyone? You can just unmute yourself. Sino ba best performer stock natin? Okay. Charmaine, bakit Tesla? Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you, Anton. Charmaine muna, bakit Tesla?
Sir, yung Tesla po kasi yung may pinakamataas po na positive po na average percentage po.
Okay. How about Anton? What's same reason?
Yes po, same reason, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You're correct, no? Tingnan nyo guys, excluding GSPC, and anyway, negative naman si GSPC. Yung mga investment natin, kunyari sa Apple hanggang Intel, si Tesla ang pinakamataas na ano na returns, no? So okay. So in terms of average returns, Tesla was the best performer for the past 4 years, getting the weekly prices and weekly returns for the past 4 years. Turns out that Tesla had the highest average returns. Okay, now let's compute this time for the risk, variance at saka standard deviation. We don't have to use the formula, yung summation ng R minus R mean squared over N minus 1, kasi meron naman si Excel na var .s, no? So variance sample, okay, and then it's the variance of the returns. Copy na lang natin yung format nitong, okay, and then copy to the right. And then let's also get the standard deviation, stdev.s, sample, standard deviation, there. Or you can get the square root of the variance, pareho lang yun. Copy natin yung format. All right. So in terms of riskiness, either variance or standard deviation, since you'll have the same answer anyway, which stock performed better among the 8 different stocks? Which was the best performer in terms of risk, in terms of minimized risk? Which stock, guys? Excluding ano excluding yung GSPC. Anyone? Guys? Paki-unmute na lang who chatted. Si Charmaine and Anton again. Sige, Charmaine.
Sir, I think Microsoft po, sir, kasi siya po yung may pinaka-minimum po na risk po.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Anton, same answer?
Yes po, sir.
Sige, thank you. Thank you, Charmaine and Anton. Yes, you're correct. It's Microsoft. In terms of variance or standard deviation. Okay? Pareho lang, no? Pareho. Kasi yung standard deviation naman naka-base lang din yan sa variance, no? So kung mas mababa yung variance, mababa din yung standard deviation. Okay, so in terms of riskiness, it was Microsoft that outperformed. Siya yung pinaka least na risky, no? Using variance or standard deviation as a metric. Again, guys, we're not including the index, no? Kasi hindi naman talaga tayo nag-i-invest sa Standard & Poor's. Ginagamit natin ito as a benchmark. Okay, now, if you're going to consider returns and risk, sino kaya sa tingin nyo ang pinakamaganda, mas maganda? Kasi sa returns, ang lumalabas si Tesla. Sa riskiness naman, ang lumalabas si Microsoft. If we're going to consider both factors, who do you think will be the better among the 8 different stocks? Which stock do you think will be the best, no? if we both consider returns and risk? Kasi kanina ginawa natin, we isolated yung returns and then also isolated yung risk. In terms of returns, si Tesla. In terms of risk, si Microsoft. But how about if we take into consideration both risk and return? Anyone? Okay, so this is where the coefficient of variation comes in. Okay. So what's the purpose of coefficient of variation? Let me just write. This is the risk per unit return. If we're going to take into consideration both the return and the risk, let me just insert a comment here. Insert comment. Asan yung comment natin dito? Insert comment. Okay, this is coefficient. No? Coefficient of variation, which is defined as risk per unit return. Di-divide lang natin. No? So we just divide. So we divide the risk in terms of a standard deviation divided by the return. Okay, kaya risk per unit return. Okay, so control 1. Using ko lang yung formatting number, percentage, 0 na lang, 0 decimal place. Okay, 596%. Okay, or that's gawin na natin number. Okay. So in terms of coefficient of variation, guys, sino yung pinaka maganda, which was the best performer? So take into consideration natin yung returns at saka yung risk. Answer is the best performer is sino, guys?
Sir, Microsoft po, sir.
Charmaine, bakit Microsoft?
Sir, siya po yung may pinakamababa po na coefficient of variation po, sir.
Dapat ba pinakamababa pipiliin natin o pinakamalaki?
Di po. Feel ko po, sir, pinakamababa po.
Bakit?
Sabi po dito, risk per unit return po.
Okay, you're correct. Thank you, Charmaine. So that's correct. Tama si Charmaine. Kasi ang minimeasure natin dito, risk. Okay? Now, standardized na yung dito, yung returns. Kasi ang denominator nito lahat over 1. Okay? Over 1. Diba? So, ibig sabihin nun, pare-pareho silang returns. So, kunyari, 1.6 returns si Apple. Ilan yung risk na if we're going to have 1% return ni Apple? 5.96 times yung risk niya. Okay? If you want to have 1% return ni Intel, you will have to assume 38.45 times the risk. No? Si Microsoft, siya yung pinakamaliit na, na risk per unit return. So therefore, guys, in terms of both risk and return, Microsoft outperforms the other stocks. No? Outperforms the other stocks. Okay, so if we're just going to take a look at returns only, so it's Tesla. If we're going to take a look at risk, it's Microsoft. If we're going to take a look at both at returns and risk, we use the coefficient of variation. So mas maganda si Microsoft because it gives us the least risk per a given unit return. Ibig sabihin ng unit 1, no? 1. So 1% return, meron tayong 4.83 times na risk kay Microsoft. Okay, the worst performers is Intel. Okay, in terms of coefficient of variation, ang pangalawa is si Apple, 5.96. Okay, if you take a look at GSPC, guys, okay, walang meaning tong negative na coefficient of variation. This does not mean anything kasi negative yung average returns niya. So may meaning lang yung coefficient of variation, guys, kung positive yung answer na to. Okay, so let me pause for a while. Any questions, guys, to give you time to compute for coefficient of variation? Okay, so may questions, guys? Walang questions, or let me put it positively. Were you able to compute for your coefficient of variation, variance, standard deviation? Umabot na ba kayo lahat dito sa sa coefficient of variation? If you were able to compute up to coefficient of variation, paki-chat naman, guys, ng yes para alam ko. Okay, good. I hope I get a big response. Sana sumusunod kayo, guys, sa kasi iba yung iba yung ginagawa nyo rin kaysa nanonood lang. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, let's wait for a few more seconds. Okay. Right? So we now go to the computation of beta. Now, sabi natin, we said that when we looked at Yahoo Finance, yung pag-compute niya ng beta is 5 years na monthly data. So ang ginagawa niyan, kino-compare niya yung asset na Tesla with a 5-year monthly ng GSPC, ng Standard & Poor's. Tapos nagre-regression siya. So there's a way to really compute technically for the beta. Yun ang gagawin natin is just a crude beta lang to, no? Crude beta, just to give you an idea of the concept of beta. Kasi by definition, sabi natin, the beta is a measurement of the relative risk of the stock relative to the market. Ito yung market natin. No? Ito yung market natin. So gusto natin malaman how sensitive is our stock, for example, Apple, relative to the market. Okay? So we will just have a computation here of the basic beta. Tingnan natin. Now, ang gagawin natin, magpa-plot tayo. Now, unfortunately, guys, kay Excel, pag may hidden na data, kunyari ito, hidden yung row 6 up to 205. Pag nag-plot tayo, hindi niya makaka-capture yung hidden na data. So, initially, ang gagawin natin, anuhin muna natin to i-unhide natin. Unhide. Okay, unhide natin siya. Tapos, mag-create tayo ng plot and try to see yung relationship ng stock natin with the market, GSPC. Okay? Sandali, lagyan natin to ng mamaya na. Later. Okay, so let's insert a plot. Insert. We're going to use the scatter plot. Tapos yung walang lines, ito. Okay. So blank canvas muna tayo, ano? Yan, wala pang laman. So lalagyan natin ng laman to. Okay, so we have here select data. papasok tayo ng data dito. Add dito, add guys. Let's call it, let's first get the Apple data, beta. Apple beta. So we're going to call it Apple beta. And then yung X values natin guys are the returns of the Standard and Poor, GSPC. Okay? Since ginagawa natin benchmark yan, yan ang nasa X-axis. Okay, so I'll highlight this one, Control Shift down arrow. There. Yun yung X-axis values natin. Yung Y naman, of course, that will be the returns of Apple. Yeah. Okay? There. Pause muna ako guys to allow you to catch up. Okay? Okay. Ito na yung plot natin. No? Ilagay ko lang dito yung ginamit natin na function just in case we're not able to. Okay, so ito yung Apple beta natin. Baguhin natin yung design para mas maganda. Design. Pag naka-highlight kasi yung chart natin, automatically lalabas yung chart tools na to. Design, let's use this. Yan. Okay, so this is the plot of on the y-axis that's your Apple, on the x-axis that's your GSPC. Okay, let me pause, guys. Give you time to catch up and generate your plot. And once you have generated it, pakichat naman guys, so please kung na-generate nyo. So I don't want to continue guys na wala pala nakakahabol. No? Okay guys, pakichat naman please kung nakahabol kayo, kung na-generate nyo na to. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes. About the rest, guys, I only saw 3 responses. And 4. I'd like to know, guys, if you're able to follow along. Let's give others a few more seconds. Good, thank you. Acknowledging those who have given the responses. So far, around 30% ang nag-respond. Sana makaabot man lang tayo ng more than 50%. So let's give a few more seconds, guys, to allow others to follow along. Okay, any more guys? Okay, I do hope guys the others are following along. No? Okay, so take a look at this plot guys, scatter plot to ng Apple returns natin at saka ng ng GSPC, ng Standard and Poor's. Now, yung beta sabi natin is that it's the riskiness of our asset relative to the market. Linalagay natin na lagi yung yung basis natin nasa x-axis yun. Okay? So that's why yung GSPC natin linagay natin sa x-axis. Now to measure that guys, it's actually the slope, no? Yun yung sensitivity ng Apple returns natin relative to the market. That's the slope. So we can visualize that. Click anywhere here. I think we discussed this before. Add trend line. Okay. Add trend line and then display equation on chart. Tapos siguro iba natin yung kulay ng konti. Iba yung kulay niya. Gawin natin red. Let's see. Okay. There. So this is, rename ko lang Apple, no? AAPL. Apple. And then, bold ko lang, dagdagan ko yung bold na lang. Oops, mali. Okay. So this is the formula for for our Apple, no? We find color. Okay, anyway, yan lang. Okay. So dito guys, ang lumalabas na measure ng beta natin is the slope, no? Yung 0.25. Okay? So it's quite different from the measure dun sa sa Yahoo Finance. Firstly because yung data magkaiba, no? 5 years yung sa Yahoo Finance at saka monthly pa. Sa atin 4 years na weekly. Okay? And then also meron pang ibang consideration dun sa pag-compute ng beta. Sa atin talagang inuno lang natin yung returns, no? And we can actually adjust this, but that will not be the scope of this subject. Suffice it to say guys, ang gagawin natin kasi i-compare natin naman yung ibang stock, no? Kunyari yung Tesla. Okay, that is in terms of the stock returns for the 4 years relative to GSPC, mas risky ba talaga mas risky si Tesla compared to Apple? So let's see, let's do that, no? Let's add another, mag-insert na naman tayo dito ng right click natin. Right click and then select data. Add ulit tayo. This time let's Tesla gamitin natin, sige. Tesla. So, Tesla data. So this is just a repeat of what we did with Apple. So yung natin, yung X values natin is GSPC. Okay? And then Y, I have to delete this. Y will be Tesla. So here. Yeah, Tesla, no? Okay. Okay. So as you can see here now, okay. So ito na yung Tesla, yung orange. Lagyan natin ng trend line. Add trend line, display equation on chart. Yung fill natin, gawin natin alright. So ito equation natin. Again, let me include here yung Tesla. So this is the SLA. And then let's 12 bold. And then yan. Okay, so based on this guys, si Tesla as compared to Apple, 'di ba, mas malaki ano niya, no? Mas malaki yung slope niya. Kita niyo naman guys ito sa plot, yun yung orange siya. It's steeper, mas steep siya kaysa dito kay ano, kay sa pula, kay kanino ba to? Apple, no? Apple. So you can see here that indeed mas risky si Tesla kaysa kay ano, kay Apple. Mas sensitive siya sa ano, mas sensitive siya sa changes in the market, which is the concept of beta. Okay, so let's add one more. I-add natin, right click, select data. Let's add this time si Microsoft. So MSFT beta. Again, our X values are itong GSPC natin. Tapos yung Y natin will be Y is Microsoft there. Okay, okay. Alright. Asan na si Microsoft? Yung light blue, no? Yung light blue na dinagdag. Ito. So, click ko si light blue. Add trend line. Tama ba? Ay, hindi, Apple yan. Asan na si Microsoft dito? Ito. Yan. Kaya kikita nyo naman guys, pag click nyo yung point ni Microsoft, i-highlight niya para malaman natin kung tama. Add trend line, display equation and chart. Okay, there. Kita nyo mas mababa yung slope, no? Let me put here MSFT. FT, correct. There, MSFT. Tapos bold natin. 12 para pare-pareho sila and color yellow. There. Okay, so based on this guys, getting the slope of the different assets relative to GSPC, we can see here that ang pinaka-risky dito are comparing these three, Tesla, Apple, and Microsoft, is Tesla. No? This is consistent with the standard deviation measure. Kasi tingnan nyo, no? Ito yung slope ni Tesla, oh. Mas steeper siya. No? Ibig sabihin, mas sensitive siya sa ano, mas sensitive siya sa movement ng market. And lastly, tingnan natin ano ba yung pinakamataas sa standard deviation. Let's see. Standard deviation, the highest is 4 and 5. Ano to? I think it's Tesla, no? Copy natin to. Copy ko lang to, Control C. Para mas madaling referencing. Control V. Okay. Underline ko lang to para may delineation lang. Thick bottom there. Okay, in terms of standard deviation, ang pinakamataas na risk is si Tesla nga, no? 9 something dito eh. Okay, so consistent naman yung beta guys, yung beta, it tells us here that which is the slope, Tesla is higher than this other stocks. Okay, so let's now formally now take note guys, sorry, yung slope dito is a measurement of the beta, di ba? So medyo iba yung computation ng beta dun sa Yahoo Finance. So if we have time next meeting, we will just refine this a bit, no? Para medyo may pagka-similarity dun sa ano sa Yahoo Finance. Okay. So we can now compute for the beta here. Kanina ginamit natin yung plot. We can just use the slope function. Kasi yung slope ng plot ng asset natin, ng stock natin, at saka ng GSPC, that really is the measurement of beta. Kasi yun yung yun yung yun yung sensitivity ng asset natin to changes in the price of the market. Okay, so known wise natin, so yung first is Apple. Okay, yun yung Y natin, comma. Known X will be yung GSPC, control shift up. Okay, GSPC natin. And then I'm going to fix natin F4 yung, if you fix natin yung column, kasi we're going to copy the formula to the right, ibig sabihin no need to fix the row. We're going to copy the formula along the row, so no need to fix the row. Okay, control enter. Okay, so copy na lang natin yung ito. And then the right, there. Okay, so pause muna ako guys to give you time to also compute for the beta. I-flash ko yung beta formula. Okay, kindly chat also please kung okay na yung ano nyo, okay na yung beta. Thank you, Charmaine. All the rest, guys. Okay, thank you, Anton. Okay. Waiting for the others, guys, to give their feedback. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kyla. Thank you, Alessandro. Lorenzo, thank you. Okay, so very good. Sana yung iba, guys, nakakasunod, ha? Okay. Salamat sa mga feedback. Kenji, Miguel, okay, that's good. All right, so let's continue, guys. So based on beta, guys, sino yung pinaka-risky dito? Sino yung pinaka-least risky based on beta? So it turns out, guys, na si Amazon, no, yung pinaka-least risky. Diba? Okay, Amazon is the least risky among the stocks, no? 0.04 siya based on our computation. So yung iba, of course guys, yung beta ni S&P 500 is 1 kasi you're comparing it with itself, no? Okay. All right. So check nga natin sa sa Yahoo Finance, Amazon, kung ano yung hindi natin chinek kanina, no, Amazon. Kung ano yung beta ni Amazon dito. Okay, 1.1 yung beta niya, no? 1.1 yung beta niya dito. It's lower than Apple, no? Kasi si Apple 1.2. But may difference tayo dito kay Microsoft kasi si Microsoft 0.86. So sa computation ni Yahoo Finance, 0.86 si Microsoft, si Amazon 1.1. Pero dito sa computation natin, lumalabas na just by comparing the returns, no, of Amazon and Microsoft with GSPC, it turns out based on our computation na mas mataas yung beta ni Microsoft kaysa kay Amazon. So we'll see how we can refine this next meeting. Okay? So but the concept, guys, is that ganun ang concept niya na ang beta, guys, is how sensitive is the stock relative to the market, where the market is proxied by Standard and Poor's. Okay? Now, just to show you something, okay, may papakita lang ako dito. If we i-hide lang natin, kunyari, so let's hide row 6 hanggang row 205. Parang yung kanina na hinide natin. If we hide this, hide. Okay, notice what happens. Take a look at our plot. I increase this. Tingnan nyo guys yung plot, no? Ano nangyari? Excel removed the data of the rows that were hidden. Okay, in fact, naging negative na tong sino ba to? Si Tesla. Naging negative na siya. Pababa na yung slope niya. Okay, so that's a lesson for us when we plot. Hindi natin pwedeng i-hide yung columns. No? Okay, kahit na ito guys, kahit na nasa ilalim pa ito kanina dito, okay, maano pa rin, ma-hide pa rin. So let me just unhide this. And then you will see now that our data, our plot, Control X ko nga muna. Our plot was restored to the original plot. Okay. All right. So let's just summarize a bit kung ano na yung natutunan natin. Let me put this to bold. There. Okay, so far guys, what we have done was to compare the sorry tagalin ko yung pagiging bold na. Bold lang natin yung okay. So we learned how to compute for the log returns. Iwasan ko ang decimal place kasi masyadong crowded. Okay, we learned how to compute for the log returns. We learned how to compute for the variance using the var.s formula, standard deviation, stdev.s. Sabi natin, the higher the average returns, the better. In this case, si Tesla yung pinakamataas. And the lower the risk, the better. In this case, yung Microsoft, yung pinakamababa. If you combine, if you take into consideration both the returns and the risk, we use the coefficient of variation. Okay? So it turns out that si Microsoft yung pinakamababang coefficient of variation. That means that based on the returns and the risk, si Microsoft ang ang best performer. And then also we have a measure of riskiness, okay, which is beta. So sabi natin, compared to the benchmark GSPC, si Amazon, based on our computation, is the least risky. Okay, so nakikita natin dito na medyo may kaibahan yung determination ng riskiness based on standard deviation at saka ng beta. Standard deviation kasi, we just use the returns of the stock, no? And we benchmark it against the average of the returns. While on the other hand, si beta, we benchmark it against the market. No? So each one of them have their own purpose. Pero sa investments, guys, siyempre, mas ginagamit si beta. Okay. Now, so far, what we have done is to look at individual assets. Now, the concept of risk and return extends, of course, to the concept of portfolio. Now, sa investments at saka sa risk and return, normally, guys, investing in just one asset is frowned upon. Okay? If you're an investor, hindi ka mag-i-invest sa isang asset lang. Kasi that's very risky. Kasi kunyari, kung bumagsak man yung asset na yan, bagsak din yung investment mo. So what people do, what knowledgeable investors do, those that really understand the concept of investing, nagda-diversify sila. So pag sinabi natin diversify, you put other eggs in your basket. Ano yung purpose nun? Ang purpose nun is to diversify and mitigate against risk. So binabawasan niya yung risk. Okay? So if you're, of course guys, later on, you have to consider investing, preparing for your retirement in the future. Kasi lahat naman tayo dadating sa point na yun na magre-retire na tayo, no? Okay, kayo, bata pa kayo, but it's good that you have this education. No? Okay, as early as now, you consider investing. So instead of buying that, I think na-mention ko sa inyo to dati, instead of buying that new gadget, a new iPhone, a new Huawei or Samsung, siguro kung yung utility ng lumang cellphone nyo, kung pwede pa, yun na muna. Tapos later on kasi pag nag-earn na kayo, kung nagtatrabaho na kayo, there's a big temptation to splurge on gadgets, no, or on quote-unquote not necessarily important items. So maganda guys yung mindset na savings. So when you get your salary, investment muna and then saka yung expenses. Ganun yung maganda. Talagang mag-aano muna, mag-set aside for investments. Okay, and one form of investment is investing in stocks. No? So when you invest in stocks, guys, dapat may portfolio kayo. No? I-allocate nyo yung assets nyo sa iba't ibang klaseng stocks. Kasi that's the purpose of diversification, which is to mitigate against risk. Okay, so in this case, mag-example tayo, no? So we're going to learn how to compute for portfolio returns. Okay, so we have learned how to compute for individual assets, returns of individual assets. Now we're going to learn how to compute for portfolio returns and portfolio risk. Si portfolio returns, madali lang. No? Si portfolio risk ang medyo mahirap. Okay? May mathematical computation yan, which I'm going to show in a while. Okay, so copyhin ko na lang guys, sandali ha. Let me just see yung para mas mabilis tayo. Okay. So, ito. Let me just copy this. Wala i-copy sa... Mamaya, discuss ko ng konti ito. No? Okay. So, portfolio returns muna. Simple lang guys yung portfolio returns. It's just getting the weighted average of the returns. Okay, so for example, let's have a portfolio of two assets lang. Kunyari, si Apple lang at saka si Microsoft. Okay, kunyari, ito lang guys yung ano natin, no? Ito lang yung ano natin, yung portfolio natin. Dalawa lang, Apple at saka Microsoft. So let's just copy the Control-C, Control-V. Okay? So let's just link it to the returns. Okay? So ito yung returns ni Apple at saka si Microsoft. Now, the returns of the portfolio will be dependent on the weights. Okay? So anong weight ang ipapasok mo kay Apple? Anong weight ang ipapasok mo kay Microsoft? Technically guys, di ba mas maganda ang ipasok natin na weights, mas magandang weight ang ipasok natin kay mas malaki, no? Of course, wag 100% kasi pag 100% kay Apple, wala na tayong portfolio. parang individual asset na lang din yun kasi lahat pinasok mo kay Apple. So ang question dito guys is yung balancing. Ilang percent yung ipapasok ng pera mo sa Apple, ilang percent sa Microsoft. No? So let's assume first na 50-50. Okay, ganito muna para matutunan natin kung paano kino-compute yung yung returns ng portfolio. Copy ko ulit yung formula dito para mas madali. Okay. Okay. So how do I compute guys for the return of the portfolio? Simple lang, no? Very simple lang. So this is the return of the portfolio. Our portfolio is equal to the sum of the weight of the asset times the return of the asset. So meron na tayong return ng asset, tsaka yung weight niya, assume natin na 50-50. No? So ganun lang guys. Very simple, very straightforward. So we have to know the weight of the asset. You have to know the return of the asset in order to compute for the return of the portfolio. Okay? So pwede natin ilagay dito weighted return. No? So ang weighted return nito is simply the weight multiplied by the return of the asset. Ganun lang yun. Okay? So copy natin. So magkakaroon ng 17 decimal places. 3 lang. Okay. Alright? So therefore, our portfolio now will be sum lang. Isam lang natin yung mga sum lang natin yung mga weighted returns nila. Okay, ito din. Control 1, nag-17 decimal places din. Pati ito, nag-17 decimal places. Nagdi-default siya dun sa eh. Okay, there. So this is our portfolio return, no? RP natin. Copy na lang natin to. There. Okay. This is the portfolio return. 0.684. Okay. Now, pwede rin naman guys, pwede hindi na natin kunin to. We can just go straight. We can use the formula sum product. So, ang ginagawa ng sum product, kukunin yung products nito and then isa-sum up siya. No? Okay, sum product of yung weights natin at saka yung mga returns. Yun. Okay? There, pareho lang, no? Pareho lang yung returns. Okay, pause muna ako guys. Okay, I'm going to flash first the formula to get the weighted return. I-multiply lang natin si weights at saka si average return natin per asset. Okay, multiply lang yan. Multiply din to. And then just add yung weighted returns nila. Okay, pause ako for a few seconds. Okay, and the other one, yung sum product na formula. And then when you're done, guys, kindly chat naman please para alam ko kung mag-proceed ako. 18 na lang tayo, kanina 25 tayo. Okay, thank you, Anton. Waiting for the feedback of the rest. Okay, May, thank you. Big, salamat. Kyla, thank you. The rest? Okay, it's okay, Harold. I understand. No? Okay, good. Good. Thank you, Mikhail. All right. So I hope the others are following. Thank you for the responses, guys. Appreciate you giving the feedback. Okay, so yung ano guys, yung portfolio return, notice natin na it will be lower than the highest return. Si Apple natin 0.697. Si Microsoft 0.672. So yung portfolio return natin mas mababa kaysa kay Apple, pero mas mataas siya kay Microsoft, no? So it's a balance. It's a balance. Okay? And then I'll just explain how to compute for the risk, no? For the risk. Hindi muna natin i-compute ngayon kasi medyo matindi yung computation. Pero next meeting, guys, mapapakita ko sa inyo na it's actually simple using Excel. Okay? Now, ang objective, di ba, kaya tayo nagpo-portfolio is to mitigate against the risk. Ang risk natin dito, si Apple, 4.153, yung standard deviation niya. Si Microsoft, 3.247. Now, you'll observe when we already compute for the portfolio risk na mas mababa than any one of this, yung risk ng portfolio natin. Yun ang objective talaga ng nag-ano tayo ng portfolio. Okay? And it will depend now on and the best portfolio, guys, in terms of minimizing risk, we can also compute. So sasabihin natin kay Excel, ano ba yung combination, ano ba yung portfolio? It means kung ano yung weight dapat kay Apple, ano yung weight dapat kay Microsoft para minimize yung risk natin. Okay, so we can do that, no? Okay, so let me just show you yung principle ng pag-compute ng portfolio risk. Okay? So I'll just share this worksheet na lang, no? Okay. So ito yung formula. This is the formula in computing for the portfolio risk. Tingnan nyo to, no? Okay. It's quite a complex formula. Sigma squared. This is the variance, di ba? Variance to. So ang standard deviation, square root lang nito. Control C, Control V. So let me just modify this. It will be okay. So take a look at this, guys. This is the variance. Kita nyo, guys, double summation, ano? Double summation. Bakit double summation? Because we're taking into consideration two assets at one time, no? Two assets at one time. Okay, so ang standard deviation niya is just the square root of your variance, no? Okay, so explain ko lang, ha. Kapag two asset portfolio, so remember pag portfolio, minimum of course two assets. Okay, the more we add assets to our portfolio, the more we're able to mitigate against the risk. Pwede nating mapababaan lalo yung risk kung dinadagdagan natin yung assets natin. Okay? So ang example lang natin ngayon is two assets lang tayo, no? Okay, two assets lang. So yung I natin at saka yung J natin, this pertains to asset 1, this pertains to asset 2. Okay. So how do we compute for the risk of the portfolio? Okay, so susundan na natin yung formula na to, no? So i-prepare natin asset 1 with 1, asset 1 with 2, asset 2 with 1, asset 2 with 2. Okay? So, pag ano naman, kung 3 asset, bali asset 1 with 1, okay, sorry asset 1 with 1, tapos asset 1 with 2, tapos asset 1 with 3, and then asset 2 with 1, asset 2 with 2, asset 2 with 3, 2 with 3, and then asset 3 with 1, then asset 3 with 2, and then asset 3 with 3. Okay. Ito magiging pairwise guys kung 3 assets tayo. So notice guys na habang dumadami yung assets natin sa portfolio, mas nagiging complicated yung formula. So this just means yung double summation, we're just summing up both 2 assets, no? 2 assets. So iisa-isahin natin 'yan. So kung dalawang assets natin, 1 with 1, 1 with itself, 1 with 2, 2 with 1, 2 with 2. So if we explode this formula, ganito lang guys, sinusunod lang yan, no? Una, 1 with 1, papalitan natin yung I and J ng 1 at saka 1. Okay, so W1, W1, and then sigma 1, 1. Sigma 1, 1 guys is the covariance of 1. So ito yung, cov is the variance of 1. So ito yung ano niya, ito yung equivalent niya, no? Okay, yung isa naman 1 with 2, that's W1, W2, covariance 1, 2. Yung 2, 1 naman, W1, W2, W1, covariance 2, 1. And si 2, 2, W2, W2, and variance of 2. Okay, so medyo medyo parang nakakalito yung yung formula. Pero guys, please read up on variance and covariance. Okay? So actually sa formula na to, madali ito guys kasi ang gagamitin natin matrix formula. So we really don't need to expound this individually. Kasi imagine guys kung kung what if it's 4 asset na. Diba? 4 asset portfolio, 1 with 1, 1 with 2, 1 with 3, 1 with 4, 2 with 1, 2 with 2, 2 with 3, 2 with 4, 3 with 1, 3 with 2, etc. So dumadami, no? E pag 10 asset portfolio, di lalong ang dami nun, guys. So the more assets you have, guys, the more difficult it is to manually compute for your portfolio variance or portfolio risk. Okay? So next meeting, guys, isi-simplify natin to, but just be aware, guys, na ito lang yung formula na yon, no? Ito yung formula ng pag-compute ng portfolio risk. Parang simpleng formula, pero pag i-expound natin yan, medyo mahirap, no? And it becomes more difficult if we have several assets in our portfolio. Imagine kung ipapasok natin to lahat ng 8 stocks natin sa portfolio. Okay, which will be one of your group exam, no? Kasi Apple with Apple, kung ito 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So ilan yung ilan yung different terms dun sa in order to compute for your variance or risk, no? Marami yon, no? Okay, it's already time, guys. So are there any questions? Let me stop recording now.